Everybody, it's Miss Marie. Today we're going to be doing a paint along of this little cup of hot cocoa sitting in a window. Outside it's snowing, but inside it's warm and cozy. And so we're going to be working on that for a little while. You might need to get some things from your home, perhaps some newspaper, some paper plates, some paper towels, and some water. Also, you're probably going to need a ruler today too. And then everything else you should have picked up from the library. Your canvas will already have the mug and the window drawn on it. You'll have some paints, a paintbrush, and a sponge tip. And we are going to go ahead and paint that. I hope you enjoy this today. I really did have a great time making this. We're going to be talking a little bit about cool colors, warm colors. The cool colors are the blue and the green. And the warm color is the red. And the brown and the white are sort of neutral. That means they're sort of in between, depending on what you look at, it's how it's going to give you the impression of whether something is warm or cool. Also, warm colors like red and orange, yellow make things feel closer to you. So that makes the cup feel like it's really close, right? And green and blue colors, cool colors, make it feel like things are further away from you. So this painting has something called perspective, where things that are close to you are bigger and things that are far away from you are smaller. Like those trees, they look small, but they're supposed to be far away. So they're actually very big trees, just far away. All right, so have fun. We're gonna learn a lot of things today, and mostly just have a great time. And let me see what you make. If you can send me a picture, that'd be great. Okay, so what you should have in your bag is a canvas, and I've already gone out and sketched out the picture for you of the cocoa mug and the window. And you should have some paint colors, 6 different paint colors. You should have a paintbrush and a sponge. Those are the things that should be in your bag. What you're going to need from home is some newspaper to paint on, a little dish of water, some kind of a straight edge. A ruler is best. I couldn't find my ruler, so I found something else that was straight. Some paper towels for wiping off your brush, and a plate to mix your paint on. So we're going to go ahead and do the background first. And it's okay if you go over these. The lines should show through enough that later on you can add them back with a darker color paint. My scene outside is sort of a very bright blue, wintry sky. So I'm going to put some blue onto my palette, or my paper plate, and some white. But I'm going to use something else to get the white out of there, because I don't want to mix any colors into my white right now, because I'm going to need that to be bright white for snowflakes later. So I'm just going to use the tip of this and just sort of brush some of that on there. Perfect. Save the rest of that for later. So now we can go ahead and mix up our paints. What I like to do is, first I'm going to get this cleared off here. I put on my towel. I like to load up the brush with a little bit of blue, a little bit of white, and just start mixing in the middle till I get a color that I like. And leave it not perfect. You know, I like to have it, the blue and the white, sort of streaky, so that it'll look more natural outside. And then we're just going to go on our canvas and start painting the blue and white background. And if you feel like it needs a little white, add a little white. And what we're going to do is go all the way around from where this line is down here, because this is what the cup is sitting on, so they're like a shelf or something, all the way around the mug and into the inside of that handle too, okay? I'll show you how to do it, and then you just keep on doing it. And like I said, go light at first. Might be easiest to start right around the mug. Make like a little outline of the mug, and then we can blend from there. So I'm going to go around and blend in that mug. Okay, I let the blue dry a little bit, and I am going to now start with the brown that's going to go down here. It's going to indicate sort of like a shelf or a table that's by the window where the mug of cocoa is sitting. Also, the brown is going to serve as a neutral color. Brown is a neutral color. Blues and whites, well, actually white's neutral too. Blues and purples and colors like that are called cool colors. And red, which is what our mug is going to be, is called a warm color. And the brown is going to be a neutral color. However, because we're going to use it next to these two colors, it's going to kind of warm up the whole thing and make it feel like a warm, cozy inside space. So let's get to adding some brown. And again, I'm going to put some onto my palette. I'm going to use it close to this white because I might need a little bit of white to lighten up the wood space, make it look a little bit more natural with some lighting on it. So let's dip into that white that I have, or you can put more white on your plate if you don't have any. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to outline. I'm going to draw the line here and here. And then I'm going to go around the mug to outline that shape. And then I'm going to fill it in. Okay, so you saw how in the middle of when I was painting the table, I decided to change the brush strokes to go this way because that looked more like the grain of wood to me. So I thought that kind of gave it almost like a wooden table sort of feel to it. Remember we were talking about the warm and cool colors, the blue being a cool color, the brown being a neutral color, right? So right now we're sort of still feeling cold in this picture, but that's going to change when we add some red later on. Before we do that, let's add some little bits of snow right down here at the bottom. And you're going to ask me, why are we adding snow to the table? Because later it's going to look like the snow is outside, right? Because we're at a window and outside there's snow. So let's take some bright white, no other paint mixed into it. Just sort of dab a little down here. Make sure everything is dry first. I'm just going to dab a little bit down here, right by the bottom of the window. That's what this is going to end up being, a window. Just sort of dab it in sort of a round shape so that it looks like some drifts of snow outside. Okay, I'm ready to go and add some trees to this background. What is important to know is that you should use a light hand with your brush and improvise. That means use what you have. I'm going to use the tip of this as my just to make a little point for where the tree is. And if I'm having trouble controlling the brush, I might use this tip again. We have green and some white paint for our tree. First thing I'm going to do is dip this in the green, dip the tip part, and put a little line, right about here. I want it to be a tall tree. Remember, it's outside, but it's a big pine tree. I'm going to draw just a little line right there to tell me that's the top of the tree. I'm going to wipe that off so I won't get all over my hands, which are already painty. And then I'm going to dip the brush in the green and just a little bit of white. And then I'm going to start swishing back and forth a little bit more on one side than the other because this tree is off center a little bit. So it's going to be more of the tree showing on this side than on this side. So I'm going to hold the brush flat and do sort of a zigzaggy. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but pine trees tend to get bigger as they go down. So I'm going to get this a little bit bigger each time I go, or almost every time. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. And we can come back and add more if we're not happy with it. And it's okay that I'm going over this into this section because I'm going to come back later and paint that handle red, so this green won't show. So I'm just going down, 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 making it about as wide as I want it to go for my pine tree. But I'm not going to go into the cut part because then that will not, it will not look exactly right. So I'm going to go down, down, down into the snow, leaving just a little bit of that snow showing. And I go back up a little bit and add some more. Make sure my brush is not too heavily loaded. And I'll just fill that tree in now that I've got the basic shape I like. I think I'm going to make a little extra green, make it a little darker. Just going to make these like quick, almost like a zigzaggy stroke. And it's going to get wider and wider at the bottom. This side too. This one's going to be probably further away from the window, so it's going to appear smaller, and I'm going to put that one more towards the middle so that you could see the whole tree. So let's take that paint on the tip again, make it like a spiky top to the tree. Okay, and clean that off and then come back with some mostly green, tiny little bit of white paint on it, and go back and forth until you finish your tree all the way down. And this one we're going to keep all the way out of the way of the cup. So first I'm going to go all the way down and get the shape and size that I want. And a little bit wider towards the bottom. It's a little bit more narrow at the top. Next thing we're going to do is add some fun little snowflakes outside the window. I'm going to just do I'm going to take the tip of my brush, right? Remember the other side of my brush, dip it in the white paint and just go around and add snowflakes. And it's okay if some are bigger and some are smaller because some are going to be up close and some are far away. Remember we were talking about that before? Things that are close to us in a picture seem bigger, things that are far away seem smaller. So it's okay if we have a few little tiny ones and a few big ones. So you just keep going until they get really tiny, and then those can be far away and others can be close up. All right, looks pretty good. And then we're going to go and add a little bit of snow to our trees as well, because these trees have a little bit of, they're going to have a little snow on them. So we're just going to take, again, that thin part of the brush, the really thin part, and go through and just very gently add some snow onto the branches. Don't need much. And if that's taking too long, you can use the brush. Just be very careful not to overdo it and overload it. Let me try, see if I can show you how to do that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is paint in the window frames, like the cross parts in the window. I got a little bit of brown on my brush. And practice taking a stroke straight across and see how I do. I did pretty good. So I think I'm ready. Make sure your brush is not too heavily painted. Hold your straight edge up to the line where I had left it on there. You can probably see it coming through still. Pull it down straight, right up next to the straight edge. Let's take that away and see how it looks. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now I'm going to wipe that off and go the other way. Try to hold it so you can see it. If I had a better straight edge, this would be better. It's okay. I'm going to let mine go a little bit into my window frame here on this side, and then I can retouch it if I have to. Remember, we're going to go straight up against it, straight across. Oh, that looks even better. Like that. And then I'll wipe it again so it doesn't get brown all over my canvas. And then I'll do it on this side. Pretty good. Pretty happy with how that came out. Just straighten that out a little bit. Thicken it up a little bit down here. All right. That's looking pretty good. Oh, you know what else I wanted to do is add a little straight across the bottom here. I don't think I need the straight edge for this. I can just follow the table. Go straight across. Just to make that cleaner down there. Where the white is starting to come on to the board a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Now, that's my brush again, but I had to get a new palette, as you can see, and I needed a new paper towel too. I don't want to paint on everything. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is we'll let that dry. We're going to start doing the cup. We're going to do the cup in red. Remember, I said red is a warm color. Warm colors make you feel warm. They maybe excite you a little bit. Sometimes red can make you feel hungry, which is great for a cup of hot cocoa. Red also, or warm colors also make things seem closer to you. So this mug will seem like it's closer to you in the picture, and the trees and everything cool are going to seem like they're further away. So let's go in and get some red on our clean brush. You can start by just sort of outlining the mug. Go down straight. And we're going to outline the whole mug and the handle. We're going to fill it in. We're not going to do this part except to do on the outside. I'll show you like this. We're just going to do the very outside of this because we're going to fill it with cocoa. So let's just do around this way. It's okay, the line shows, it'll get covered up later. And we're going to do around this way. I'm going to leave that all in the middle. It's going to stay white. And we're going to just paint the rest of this mug. And then we'll be done. Oh, you know what? I should probably turn it towards you so you can see better. All right. So after I let that dry, I still had some streaks left. So what I did is I went in and I got some red paint on my sponge, and I went around. Let me show you how I do it. And I just sort of did like a dabbing motion all over, very careful next to the edges so you don't go over the edges. And that kind of covers up some of those streaks a little bit. And I wasn't happy that there were some branches showing through over here, so I took some more paint and I did also the same thing, the dabbing up and down over here, just on the handle, a little extra paint, and I'll have to let that dry a little bit longer, but that'll cover up any of the branches that were showing through. Or you could leave it, it really is fine, it's your painting, you decide how you want it to be. I know that I wanted to cover that up, so I did it with a dabbing motion with the red paint. Over here with the handle, using the paintbrush, and over here using the sponge to cover up that big area and get it to be a little bit less streaky. You see? All right, almost finished now. Okay, now we're ready to add the hot chocolate. So I put a little white on my plate, clean my brush, put a little brown on my plate. I'm gonna mix the white and the brown to get a nice hot chocolatey color. I'm gonna come in here and put it in swirls. If it's not dark enough, add a little bit more brown. I'm going to go right up to the edge, making sure everything is dry, of course. And like I said, we don't like to mix the colors too much, so let there be some white, let there be some brown. If you need a little more brown, go ahead and dip in there, because that's all we're going to use it for now, is for the hot cocoa. So okay if a tiny little bit of brown gets in, a white gets in there. Okay, everything is totally dry, and so we're gonna go in and add some white details. I'm gonna get my clean brush, get some white on there, and I'm gonna put some snow on the outside of the window. It's gonna just kind of collect and pool a little bit here. Next, I'm going to add some highlights to the mug, just a little bit on the handle. Not too much, not too dark. Just some highlights. So now my favorite part, we're going to do some marshmallows. We're going to put them right into the cocoa. And I'm just going to do a few little, sort of like, not quite a circle, more of an egg shape almost, because it looks like they're melting a little bit. And have them going all different directions. Here's where I'm going to go in and just add a tiny little bit of that gray I gave you. You don't need much. Clean off your brush mostly. Get a tiny little bit of gray on there. Mix it up so it's not watery. Tiny little bit of gray. I'm just going to add a shadow onto our marshmallows. Close up the gray. Now we're going to try something on our coffee mug. Now this part is totally optional, up to you. I'm going to draw some snowflakes on mine. You do not have to do that if you don't want to. If you don't think you can do it, then you can skip it. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of paint on my brush, a nice clean brush. And I'm going to come in and do one long line this way, and one long line this way, and then this way. And I'm going to then paint little V's. I'm going to use this part of my brush, the tip of my brush, because that makes the smallest lines. Let's do some dots on there too. Some little. And this part's fun too. We're gonna do some swirls coming up out of here, like steam. I'm gonna first draw it with this, and then go back in with this and try to spread that out a little bit. Make it really thin and wispy. Again, you can skip this part if you don't feel like you can do it. That's okay. Okay, this part is very much optional. It's if you get your brush with some white and you brush most of the white off of there, we're just gonna add a tiny little bit like steam on the inside of the window by doing this, and it'll make the window look a little bit more realistic. And don't do it on the cup, just behind the cup. See a little bit coming up through the window. Almost like reflections. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's do a little bit more down here, a little more down here. Yeah, the window gets steamed up when the heat comes on. Very good. All right, let's rinse that off, and we're going to finish up by just putting in some, going to outline our hot cocoa mug a little bit more with some brown. We'll clean that off. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed making this today, and I will see you soon.